Hey, everybody out there in the world of YouTube, thanks for tuning in, stopping by, checking out my channel. Of course, my name is Jacqueline Anderson, and it has been a long time, but I am here with a wonderful guest, and thank you for clicking on this video, and we're going to interview one of my good friends I've gotten to know over the years. You'll get some background on that. However, my guest today is JD Longino. So I will let him get started, introduce himself a little bit, or I'll let him start with what does JD stand for?
Awesome, awesome. And thank you, Jackie, so much for the opportunity to be on your show and to speak to your audience. I know that it's been a long time coming and there's been a lot of, horse trading going on. So I'm super excited that we were able to make this happen. So to start out, I will say JD stands for my initials, Jarrell D, right? And it just became a way to make myself a little more friendlier, right? That's what some of my friends and family members call me, and some clients started picking that up, and then it just became a life of its own, and I became JD through and through, both professionally and personally.
All right, okay. Well, JD, let's talk about your CPA journey, studying, going to school, and now where you are in your career. I know you have your own firm or had it, sold it, you're doing a lot of wonderful things. But let's just start with the early part of your career and how you got started. So, and also on your birth certificate, was that your name you were saying? Say it
Yeah,
one more time.
that is my full government name, Jarrell D. Longino.
All right. So, all right. So where are you from since we're here in Metro Atlanta?
Yeah, so currently living in Metro Atlanta, like you said, but originally I was born in Alaska. So I was a military brat. I moved
Okay.
around a ton, but yeah, roots run deep in Alaska. I lived there till I was about 13, 14 years old. And then I moved to Louisiana, stayed there for a while, and then after Hurricane Katrina happened, we moved around a little bit more, couple other places until I finally ended up settling on Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, so you've been here since around Katrina's years. Okay. After that.
Well, a little bit after that, I would say
Okay.
like around 2012. So I came in like after that, so people didn't really know. They're like, "Oh, you're not the Katrina hero,"
All
but
right.
I snuck in there. So yeah.
Oh, okay. We kind of know some of the, I guess, the ideas or connotation about that, but we'll say that for another conversation. Gotcha. All righty. So, when did you get licensed? When did you become a certified public accountant?
So I got my license on July 29th, 2016. And I remember the day specifically because I was sitting up waiting, refreshing my little results. And I was just like, all right, come on, come on, come on, guys. And then, when it finally came through and then, the information was shared out and it was publicized, it was just an extremely happy day in my life. I was working in public accounting at the time. So I did make sure to share that with all of my colleagues and stuff, and it was just very exciting period.
Got it. And I will say for everyone, yeah, he looks like a little boy, probably here on the screen and in person. So that may be a gift and a curse, depending on the setting he is in. So, do you mind sharing how old you were in 2016, since that would have been when you were here in Metro Atlanta post Katrina? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jackie, we don't crack. That's how it is. Hey, I
Right.
got it. I've been blessed. But I got my CPA license when I was 26 years old.
Okay, great. All right. And that's good just to give us some perspective. All right. So how far had you gone into your educational, I guess, career path? So what level of education did you have and do you currently have?
Yeah, so at that point in time, I had completed a bachelor's degree, right? And so that's the way that I did mine, though, because there is that additional 30-hour requirement before you can get your license. I actually was pretty fortunate to inadvertently double major.
Okay.
And so I ended up getting a whole bunch of credits, that ended up turning around and helping me out when I wanted to go back and sit for the CPA exam. But yeah, it was definitely a journey in that way to make sure that all of that was balanced and all of that was being brought in to be able to sit and then receive that license.
Got it. Okay. So at that point, you said you were working in public accounting. What started you on the CPA track?
Well, so funnily enough, I was working a retail job, and at that job, dealing with people, it's just there's a lot, dealing with the public. And
Mhm.
so one day I had just gotten so frustrated with what I was doing. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go and find a job where I don't have to talk to anybody, right? I don't want to go come into work, sit in my little place, not talk to anybody, clock out, and go home, right? And so I looked it up and I was like, okay, you know what? Accountant. That seems like somewhere I could go and not have to deal with the public at all, right? Little did I know, all these years later, I'm constantly dealing with the public,
Right.
constantly talking to people, constantly making connections, then with clients, prospects, a whole bunch of stuff. But at the time, it seemed like a way to change kind of the situation that I was in. And little did I know about how well it would fit with my personality, my
Okay.
goals, and then how much growth there is there for me. And eventually I learned that it wasn't so much the public that I was, trying to get away from. It was just really that more or less dead end job that didn't provide me with, the experience, the intrigue, the puzzles that say accounting and having my CPA does.
Got it. Okay. So once you got into accounting, how long was your actual journey when you started take the first exam? How long did it take you, and what sections did you have to retake, if any?
Okay. Yeah. So when I started my exam journey, as I mentioned, I was in public accounting. And at that time, I had just joined public accounting. So I had planned to take the exam, my first exam, which was FAR. I had planned to take that in August of I want to say 2015. And I had just gotten hired by my first public accounting firm in like 20 or in July of that year, right? So I was working in another accounting job before that. But I got hired public accounting 2015, started there. And so when you start out in public accounting, they're like, well, you don't really know anything, so we're not going to give you anything. So I just used kind of my free time there to study and build up. Took FAR, passed it, got my green light on that. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to knock this out, knock the rest of them out. After that, I believe I went to audit, then regulation and BEC in that order. And I did it like that because I knew audit was going to be one of my harder areas. If I could get FAR out of the way, I was good. Audit, I thought would be a little bit tougher. Get that done. Regulation, the way that it fell was I did the regulation part during tax season, which was kind of insane. It was a little crazy. I don't know if I would recommend that somebody doing that during their first tax season. But what really helped me out for all sections was I took MARTA. And so it would take, an hour and a half to get to work, which isn't that great. But what it would do is it left me that time, like an hour and a half every single day, of like reading the books, watching the videos, going through all this stuff. So when I went into these exams, I was prepared, ready to do it, lit it up, and ran forward. So that's how I tackled that. Regulation BEC. I finished up in February of 2016. That was when I took my last exam. And fortunately, I was able to pass all sections the first time. I was super,
Hold on, let me.
I
Give
was
me
super
your
excited
props for
about that.
acknowledge that is a huge feat, everybody, to pass each exam the first time out, not a retake. That is fantastic. That's phenomenal. In addition to being a CPA, you can say you passed each section the first time out. Now that's somewhat unique too. So he's an overachiever, but I'm gonna give it to him. From one CPA to another, I know that was not easy. That is
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah. It was crazy, but I always chalk it up to that MARTA and those MARTA trips, and allowing me to do that. But yeah, going through that journey, it really opened my eyes to what the CPA was, what it was about, and what we could really do. And I just, yeah, it was incredibly valuable.
Right. Okay. Before I jump to the next question, so since you passed all four exams and became a CPA, what is your state issued ID number?
Okay. That state issued ID number is CPA 032. Oh, sorry, 034298. See that?
Okay,
CPA, I'm messing up numbers.
that's all right, but I know you worked hard.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Worked hard on it, want to show it off. We get these little cards too. I know
Oh,
you know what
go
I'm talking about.
put it
The
in
little
the camera.
cards.
If you got it, bring it
You know,
up.
it's I got it over here somewhere. You know, actually, you know what?
I'll take it
Yeah,
over
I
there
don't
if
know.
you got it. Because I
Right.
know in one of my videos, I put it in the screen and another lady, because we keep those, we hold them dear. Nobody else asked for it, but this is the opportunity to show it off to the world and get your respect.
Exactly, exactly. It tripped me out too because it's an actual license. I was like, oh, it's a real license. Like you can pull it
Right.
out, like if you get pulled over or something.
Right.
Here's my license. But hey,
Here you go. Don't be caught without it, or don't leave home without it.
right, right.
Cool. So since you were already in public accounting, I got to believe that there was some initial or immediate promotion. Did you see that, or is that a misnomer or wasn't true for you? So once you became CPA, how did things change within public accounting, and then thereafter the trajectory of your career? But immediately, was there a promotion, raise? What did that look like since you were already in public accounting?
Yeah, yeah. So, since I was already in public accounting, the firm that I was at, it was a smaller firm, and they actually did not give me a raise once I passed my exam and had my license. The expectations went up though. They definitely jumped. But no, I didn't get a raise until the appropriate time, like later on that year, which I think was around November.
Okay.
And even at that point, the raise I want to say was like cost of living adjustment or so.
Okay.
It wasn't really that great. And when I asked them about that,
Can
they were
you
like,
be
well,
specific? Because again, this is for information, educational purposes. And I know that would be what, almost about 8 years ago, maybe 2016. If you don't mind being very specific, saying you were making what, 40,000, and when you're whatever it was, just so people have a realistic expectation or see if there's some disparities or differences there. So go ahead as you tell the story.
yeah, yeah. So I want to say that I was making. I initially started at like $52,000 a year, and then after I got my CPA and raising stuff, and you know what, there may have been a bonus. There may
Okay.
have been a bonus of like somewhere between $1,000 and $5,000. I want to say $2,000 maybe when I
Okay.
passed. I
Once you
got a
pass.
$2,000 bonus. And
Okay.
then in November of that year, after I passed, I want to say I got like a 3 to 4% raise on top of that 52 that I had already. And when I asked about it, they said that, it's more about experience rather than licensure. But
Mm.
that's yeah, we'll set that to the side. But yeah, either way, that's kind of where I was, and it was definitely a learning experience. You can see that I'm not there anymore today, and actually, you know, funnily enough, that's the firm that I ended up eventually leaving to start my own business, right? And to kind of grow in that way. So it's I'm not gonna say it was a blessing in disguise because not getting paid what you're worth is never a blessing. But
Right.
I definitely learned how to make the most of that situation because of that situation, if that makes sense. If it was more comfortable, I probably would have stayed a little bit more, probably
Right.
would have stayed longer, and my trajectory would be completely different.
Right, which a lot of us probably can relate to, because if you said you had been paid a decent salary, you probably may have become comfortable or complacent. But that probably led to you making some decisions. Yeah, if I can go out on my own, or explore different options. So let's segue into that. So you started your own firm. In what area of accounting did you specialize?
So when we started out, it was just bookkeeping. I was like, look, I don't want to get into all that stuff. Let me just, do the journal entries and debits and credits and keep it all simple and stuff. But, I quickly found that there was a need for tax advice and tax preparation and just that knowledge of bringing everything together when you're handling somebody's business. Beyond just what's going on the Schedule C, right? Just putting stuff in there, or 1120S, 1065, all that good stuff, or 1120, but just being able to understand what's going on in their business and synthesize that forward.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that there was an opportunity there, and that's really what I started driving Accolade Accounting towards. And it was just building that, mostly tax was our bread and butter, but we really focused on closely held organizations or single member organizations, right, where we could talk directly to the CEO or the board and give them guidance that they would take and apply, but then also be able to offer value add, right? Because it's those kind of companies that don't really have everything figured out, and you could say, hey, let's start doing this and we'll start saving some taxes. Have you guys considered XYZ for your employees, right? And then that whole thing kind of just gets them to that next level, if that makes a little bit of sense.
Okay, so how did you go about obtaining new business and growing the business? Did you have plenty or a lot of connections once you stepped out on your own? Was it word of mouth, or where did you see a gap in the market?
Yeah, so I actually had zero connections when I stepped out on my own, partially because, I didn't want to be that person that's like, oh, I'm taking all these clients with me or something like that from the old firm. I didn't feel like that was fair or professional. And two, I wanted to have my own and build it my way. And you can't really do that if you bring people from the other firm, because they're going to be like, well, hold on, didn't you just do it that way? And not, instead of like your way. So I built it from the ground up. Initially, it started out with word of mouth, right? So, and to be specific, right? What I ended up doing was I went on QuickBooks Online, because remember, it started as bookkeeping. I went on QuickBooks Online. I got the certification that they have, like their normal and advanced certification, and then put my little profile up there. And so I got a couple people by that, got a couple people locally, and through doing a good job and being sure to ask for referrals and reviews. Period. 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 Ask for referrals and reviews, and you ask for the people that you did a great job for. Yeah, I mean, if somebody's really angry at you, don't go ask them for a review. But if somebody you did a really good job for, ask them for a review. 9 times out of 10, they're more than happy to help you out. That spreads your reach, spread your expertise around, and then people see that and they're like, okay, I want to work with that guy. And so it just kind of grew from there, and kept bubbling up as I kept continuing asking people to review us and review us. In fact, to the point where when I ended up leaving Accolade Accounting, we had it was over different places, right? But we had 50 5-star Google reviews. We had like 6 5-star Facebook reviews, and we had like a couple other like just random places, different little reviews, but all of them were 5 stars, right? We had about like a total of 60, 65 like 5-star reviews spread out all over these different places, and not a single like 1-star review. Like all of them were 5 stars, like 100%. And that one was I was so intentional about it, right? In asking for that, but also just intentional about the service that I was delivering to my clients. And that just really propelled the business to the next level every single year.
Wow. So having that online presence grew organically into a big business. So you said when you left, so did you left, or did you sell the firms?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I use those kind of interchangeably, but yeah, I'm no longer with the firm, and the new partner has taken over. It was a financial transaction where I have relinquished my portion of ownership to her.
But y'all did grow it together. You started out truly ground up, right? You started with
Well, yeah, I
all
mean,
of
well,
the business. Okay.
She came in much later, but
Oh,
there was and there were a lot of people and a lot of hands that helped along the way. And I do want to definitely say that, I definitely did not do this alone. We actually at one point, and it's not there anymore, but at one point we had like a staff of 7 people. Like it had gotten pretty intense, like just with how many things that we had going on and stuff. But a lot of hands in it, a lot of help. But yeah, it was just a chorus of different people through from the beginning to the end.
well, that leads to my next question. Since that seems to be ideal situation to be in, to grow your own firm to that level, why did you transition? What was next for you?
So I ended up transitioning, well, for a couple of reasons. One, the biggest one was my health, right? My health started to take a turn there because I wasn't able to quite take care of myself or do the things that I needed to, or I didn't, right? Just because of the business, I didn't do that. The second is my family's health. I had right around that time, I had a couple of deaths in the family, like just like boom, boom, right back to back. That really kind of changed the dynamic of my family a little bit more. And not so much my immediate family, but but my pretty immediate family,
Gotcha.
right? So in doing that, in looking around and saying, okay, we only get one shot at this. My health is where it's at. My family needs me right now. It's best to take a step back, right? And because I understood how demanding the business was, right? And especially because of the track record of success and excellence that we had, I knew that I couldn't halfway do it, right? I can't 50% it. I can't be like, okay, I'm gonna come, go over here. This is because I tried. It doesn't work, So it came to that point of needing to do that, and then it's not even all such a sad thing. There was that part that factored into it, but as well, I really have a heart for helping our community, right? I feel that it is it is my responsibility, my duty to
Okay.
take what I have learned, right? And then turn it around and give it to my community, right? Or help them out or help them to understand these things. Because just as you knew, a couple years ago, before this, I had no idea what this stuff was. I had no idea what was going on here, right? And so just through myself learning that, right, and being able to take that on and synthesize that information and then turn it around and be that spokesperson to my community, it's just it's something that I've always cherished. And I knew that being at Accolade Accounting, I could not fully commit to that. I could not give back in the ways that I wanted to, right? Because again, I saw such a need there. When you look out, and I love all of my clients. I had great clients. I love my clients. But when you look out at my clients, their need isn't as great as like some of the people in my community, some of the people that live around me, right? They're doing better because they can afford a CPA, right? I mean, you're automatically doing a little bit better there, right? Whereas these other people who can't quite afford a CPA can't. And so I really wanted to make sure that I'm reaching out to them, and helping them connect those dots, because sometimes yes, you need to know about budgeting and saving, but then there's a little bit more beyond that, right? What are those pieces to get from point A to point B that makes sense for you in your life that will help you out that you just don't know about? And so that's what I was really passionate about, and I wanted to do that. I've been volunteering at the library and doing different little presentations there of financial literacy,
Okay.
and so I really wanted to continue to expand that out and continue helping people in that way. So those 3 factors, my health, my family's health, and wanting to give back really played the biggest part in exiting the business, right, and doing something different.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you went into some detailed explanation. Will you say having your own firm and being a CPA allowed you to be able to make that decision, meaning you had made enough money, or it was somewhat lucrative enough where you felt you had a nest egg or enough cushion to be able to pull back?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would have never been able to do that if, without the business. And I fully believe if I was in public accounting still, like in just somebody else's company, the demands would probably be similar, right? The demands would probably be really up there for the level that I would be at by that point in my career. So, yeah, but having that firm allowed me the option. It allowed me the flexibility to say, okay, this isn't quite what I planned for myself, right? How can I change this around? And like you said, it was lucrative enough that I can put away money. I can do these things. Whereas when you're making a smaller salary working at someone else's business, not that it's wrong or bad for everybody, but you just don't have the same ability, right? You don't have the same agenda setting, ability for the firm, for your income that you do working for somebody else. Because I could easily, and that was part of it. That was actually part of it, was that when I'm working at the firm, when I was doing my own thing, I would say, okay, I could go to sleep right now. Or I could make a little bit more money if I just go do XYZ real quick, right? It's like, oh well, I can get the kids' birthdays, I can get Christmas taken care of, I can do a vacation if I take care of these things right now. But it's almost a perverse incentive because you really end up giving up a lot more of yourself than maybe you intend. And so, but when you work for somebody, that incentive is gone. And so yeah, it's just a trade-off.
Gotcha. And you talked about your community. So as we wrap up, what are your thoughts about the low representation of Black people within the accounting profession, but at the CPA level? Because there are statistics that say we make up less than 1% of all CPAs. What are your thoughts as we close? And I hear what it seems like you're doing to help, increase that number.
Yeah, my thoughts are that, it can really be summed up as my people perish for a lack of knowledge, right? And I just think that we don't know. There's not that same kind of outreach. There's not that same kind of just information in the community to be able to understand accountants or understand when you need accountants. So I went to a relatively small school. I had a friend of mine that went to a really big state school, right? Well, at the really big state school, Big Four is coming in there. They're doing presentations. They're doing XYZ. At my school, there wasn't any of that, right? So it's just kind of like you have to feel your way out. And so when I initially went, I wasn't even going for accounting at all, but it ended up switching over like later on in life. But yeah, it is something that it just needs more visibility, and people like you and through this forum and things that you're doing are really battling that, right? Battling that invisibility that accountants, Black accountants or accountants of color are facing, right? Just because nobody knows. Everybody thinks it's just some boring job where you got to be good at math, and it's like really just not that at all. It's completely differently. What I tell people that in accounting is it's like a numbers lawyer, right? That's really kind of what it is. You're just a numbers lawyer. You have to read, you have to understand law, and you have to apply it and apply it with figures.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that just more education, more outreach to the community, starting at like a high school level, even just to start letting people know that these options are out there. These are jobs and occupations that you can have, and this is what it looks like when you do those things, right? This is the kind of opportunities you can get. This is the kind of freedom that you can have, and this is the kind of life trajectory and income, most importantly, that you can get from being a CPA that you may not have realized.
Got it. Okay. Well, we're almost on the end, but I don't want to cut off your response on this final question. So we're going to end here and then come back with the final segment, I will say. So hold on. So I will be right back. So hold on. We're going to get JD's thoughts on that final question I typically ask. So hold on a minute.